I filed the motion to vacate today, but it's more of a warning and a pink slip. I respect our conference. I paid all my dues to my conference. I'm a member in good standing, and I do not wish to inflict pain on our conference and to throw the House in chaos. But this is basically a warning, and it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority instead of standing with the Democrats.
That's a warning. If it's a warning, if it's a warning, does that mean that you're not going to go through and force this vote?
No, I will.
There's nothing that can convince you to back off.
There's not a time limit on this. It doesn't have to be forced and throw the House into chaos. I don't want to put any of our members in a difficult place like we were for 3.5 weeks. We're going to continue our committee work. We're going to continue our investigations. There's a lot of good investigations going that have to be able to proceed, and the American people deserve that. But I'm not saying that it won't happen in 2 weeks or it won't happen in a month or who knows when. But I am saying the clock has started. It's time for our conference to choose a new speaker.
Do you believe that there are more Republicans who support this push? And ultimately, if this does get filed, it could lead to exactly what you're saying, more chaos, more paralysis. Does the House Republican conference want to move forward with that?
It's filed, but it's not voted on. It only voted on until I call it to the floor for a vote.
You are saying you will call for this vote, or you're saying you're still I know you said no time.
I'm saying that we've started the clock to start the process to elect a new speaker. And I'm giving my conference time. I'm being respectful to my conference, but many members in my conference agree. Even though it's uncomfortable, it's a process none of us want to go through. It has to happen.
And there it is. Marjorie Taylor Greene has now officially thrust an already disastrous House GOP majority into even more dysfunction by starting the process to vacate Mike Johnson from his speakership. Tell you what, Republicans have failed at just about everything it takes to run the House, but I will give them credit for one thing. No one is better at holding speaker votes than today's GOP. And why is Greene taking this action? What cardinal sin did Mike Johnson commit that would warrant yet another instance of self-imposed humiliation? He moved a bill to keep the government open. That's it. He didn't want to shut down the government and crater our economy and send millions of Americans home without paychecks and cause essential services to stop. That was apparently so disqualifying as far as Marjorie Taylor Greene was concerned that she felt it was grounds to strip him of his job, even at the risk of losing the speakership for her own party. Remember, Republicans barely have a majority. Republican Ken Buck retired literally today. They've got no room for error. And so if this motion to vacate goes to the floor, and Republicans don't have their full conference, for example, they could quite literally lose the speakership to Hakeem Jeffries. How's that for a brilliant gambit for Marjorie Taylor Greene? Although I must say, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them. Remember, Republicans not only can't govern, which they've made abundantly clear, they don't even want to. They want to be in the minority. They want to be able to whine about the Democrats. Right now, they have no scapegoat because they're in charge. And so when the border isn't fixed and they're in charge, they can't blame anyone but themselves. And they can't have that. They don't know how to govern. They need to be in the minority. This motion to vacate may inadvertently, or advertently, accomplish exactly that. In fact, this was a point that was predicted by Jared Moskowitz in an interview that's coming out this weekend.
Motion to vacate. That's it. Motion to vacate. 3 words. Motion to vacate. That is controlling this entire process. If a couple members, threaten to make a motion to vacate over Ukraine, he goes and hides and doesn't talk about it. So, he's trying to find, I guess, cover maybe with Donald Trump on that issue to survive a motion to vacate. That's how I see it. So kind of like in the Senate, where you don't even have to threaten, to do a filibuster anymore. You just have to get 60 votes. Right now, in his mind, he just wakes up every day trying to survive the day. And so, he's got this motion to vacate thing in his mind because it had been threatened in the past. And I think that's really what's guiding his whole view on this.
Prior to this announcement, Greene appeared on Steve Bannon's podcast and offered up her rationale for taking this step.
Didn't the speaker commit to us that he wouldn't bring for a funding of the government until the border was secured? How did he flip to saying, he's been saying the last couple of days, funding the government's his number one priority? When did that happen, and what is he speaking about? Isn't security of the border our number one priority right now?
The security of our border should be the number one priority by every single elected official in the United States of America. That's by the Constitution, and that's by the office, the oath that we swear for the offices that we hold. That applies to every Democrat and every single Republican. Yes, he said that our border security should be number one. Mike Johnson has gotten rolled completely, totally, in every single process. He has not negotiated with strength. He's handed every single thing over to Chuck Schumer. This is Chuck Schumer's bill. This is a bill that the White House has said, pass as fast as possible. Pass it because Joe Biden wants to sign it into law. This is the worst possible scenario for Republicans, and it signals to the entire country that Republicans are not in control of the House of Representatives. The Democrats are, and that instead of Mike Johnson and Republicans being in control of the Speaker, Chuck Schumer is in control.
Well, if this does happen to pass today or over the weekend, what then is the fate if we control the House, but we have a Speaker that is basically pushing and passing the Democrats' agenda? What do you recommend should be the fate of Mike Johnson?
We are making that decision on a minute-by-minute basis today, Steve, and I think you can stay tuned.
Will you lead the effort to call for a motion to vacate?
Steve, we are going to be making decisions on a minute-by-minute basis today, and I urge you to watch and see what happens.
So let me get this straight. Securing our border should be our number one priority, which is why the Republican Party refused to take up a border bill negotiated by their own party that included no immigration reform and instead had only border security, which was exactly what they wanted. I'm sorry, but am I living in the upside down? Republicans literally killed a border bill, and now they're using the fact that there's no border bill as justification to oust their own party speaker and potentially hand power to the Democrats? Please, someone, make it make sense. The simple fact is that in 8 months, Americans are going to be heading to the polls to decide who should have power in this country. Republicans are broadcasting to us right now that they do not want it, that they're not capable of wielding it, that they will do whatever they can to relinquish it. Remember, they swept into office this cycle on claims that they would lower costs and reduce inflation and focus on gas prices. They've done none of that. Literally haven't passed a single bill on any of those issues. All they've done is spend a year and a half investigating Hunter and Joe Biden in a probe that is going exactly nowhere. These people beat their chests on a daily basis against government waste. Nothing is more wasteful than these Republicans. You could take your tax dollars, pile them in the middle of the street, and set them on fire. It would still be just as effective as paying the salaries of these House Republicans. So frankly, if Greene wants to eject Mike Johnson as Speaker, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. But I do hope the American people are paying attention to what happens when a Republican Party predicated on entrenching chaos and dysfunction are voted into office. This is a humiliation for our Congress and for our country, all at the hands of people who claim to be patriots. And the only way to stop it is to ensure that they don't hold power in the future. But until then, the usual warning applies. Elect clowns, expect a circus. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.